I have a gripe with you.
Okay.
Okay. I have something I'm mad about.
Yeah.
You selfishly took time out from like your very limited obligations.
Yeah.
Which include going on the podcast, which is fine.
Yeah.
Sure. But also sometimes appearing on the show.
Yeah.
At a time, and to be fair, you did not know that this was going to happen, where aviation news was more important than ever. Your expertise was needed.
Yeah.
Your expertise was needed because, like, when I saw Tim Pool and all of these Republicans,
oh no, they chimed in.
Start talking about how like it's actually because airlines are hiring like gay people and black people and like women.
They were saying that?
They were saying DEI is the reason why airplanes are crashing.
What?
Or just like, you know, the
diverse hiring practices.
Yes. And
brother, have you flown on a plane and met the flight attendants?
I'm so mad that you were not here for it. Like, as soon as I saw that, I literally was like, I have to tell Austin because he's going to lose his mind. Same with Murat. I immediately hit up Murat too. But like, you not being on the pod, on the last episode of the pod where we discussed like cruises and also, you know, plane related shit, it's frustrating.
Okay, aviation. Let me tell you something, Tim Pool. Aviation is one of the gayest.
Well, you haven't even seen it.
No. Aviation is one of the gayest industries on the
more,
planet.
They were more so talking about DEI as in like not just gay people, but like women.
But let me finish. Let me just assume they said gay people because I want to get this point out and make it sound good. Aviation is one of the gayest industries on the planet. Not just the flight attendants, the pilots, okay? Let me tell you something, all right? One of my first bouts with homosexuality, all right? One of my first times experimenting with homosexuality was when I was a teenager. I had this flight simulator group, right? And we would play flight simulator, right, together. And we were all in the closet. We would talk about girls, and then after we landed, we'd all go jerk off together. Like that was what we did. Turns out, all the people I used to play online with, they're all gay. Some are married to men. Like it was a crazy time.
This is new revelations about your life that even I didn't know.
No. I actually did. I had a little period of like I had a fling with a guy that I used to play flight simulator with, and then
someone said I've personally fucked a lot of straight in air quotes pilots.
I had a fling with a guy I used to play flight simulator with, but then I felt so guilty I like shoved myself back in the closet for probably 5 to 7 years after that.
Damn, this guy fucked you up, huh?
Yeah, no. I remember, and I actually kind of remember being disgusted by his penis, and I think that was like, it was a little too much for me. I was like, wow, that's, I don't know.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
This is like there's a lot going on in the world of gayviation.
Yeah, gayviation.
And
what's going on?
I can't believe that you would selfishly, like the selfish top that you are, chose to take time off in the midst of like one of the most heated,
out of my home airport.
Yeah, one of the most. Yeah, that's the other part. Like you have direct involvement.
It was in my home airport, the airport that I fly out of.
Of course, and let me pull this up real quick. We're of course talking about the Boeing 737
Max.
Boeing 737 Max fiasco that took place. Okay. For those of you who still don't know exactly what happened, okay, let me see if I can find the video real quick. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh God, I can't find anything like this. It's like not easy. Twitter has gotten so much worse. It's like impossible to find shit. You know what I mean? Like I can't find anything. Like this sucks. Like it just the Tim Pool DEI. Like you'd be able to search it and then find the video quickly back in the day. Anyway, that's a totally irrelevant thing.
I flew on the 737 MAX 9 the day before that incident on Alaska Airlines. The day before I flew the MAX 9
from that airport.
No, not from that airport.
Oh,
I flew. I would have never. So that flight was an Alaska Airlines flight from Portland to Los Angeles, a route that I frequent. But this particular plane, I would have never been on. I would have never been on that plane. I would have never been sitting there. And also, I would have never been flying to Ontario. So I would have probably never been on that plane.
Okay, well, regardless, the Boeing 737 MAX 9 is what we're talking about, specifically because the Boeing 737 MAX 9,
Yep.
which gets outsourced by Boeing, for the record, to other, I guess, lesser build quality outsourcers that are much cheaper, right? Had an issue from the flight that you were talking about, right? The flight that you were talking about took off, and very quickly the door, where there was supposed to be a door,
Yes, I know what happened.
exploded basically.
Didn't
It just
explode.
like flew out.
Just flew out.
Now, normally there's an emergency door there
Not
on
necessarily.
some of the planes, but obviously some commercial airliners choose not to put a door there. So they put what is known as a door plug in that space, right? So there's no like connection from the pilot from the pilot to that area. It's just a part of the plane functionally, right? And turns out, yeah, it gives them extra seats. That's a big reason why they do it. Whatever, okay? Classic shit. Now, the plane didn't crash. However, they immediately landed all the 737
They grounded them, yep.
MAX 9s.
Plane didn't crash.
Yeah.
It was a cabin depressurization.
Yeah.
The pilots immediately acted swiftly and landed the plane safely.
This is your thoughts. It seems as looser than the door on a 737 MAX 9.
I was stoned.
This is on the 16th. This is 3 days ago. Were you still on the cruise? How could you have been stoned on the cruise? Did you bring drugs on the cruise?
Look,
what?
I didn't bring drugs on the cruise.
You're an international criminal.
No. I didn't bring drugs on the cruise.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. I would have never brought drugs on the cruise. There's no way.
Oh, wow.
Not something that I would do.
Yeah, because that would be international drug trafficking and like very illegal.
No, I just don't do that.
Wow, smuggling drugs on international waters. Well, technically, there's no real regulation.
No, I didn't
right?
do it. I didn't do it. Prove it.
Okay. Well, regardless, we're digressing. Let's get back to the main story at hand here. So, conservatives saw this as an opportunity to do what they do best, which is yell about, non-white, non-straight, non-male people. And quickly, the aviation experts over at Tim Pool decided, and does anyone have the clip that I'm looking for? Quickly, Tim Pool decided this is DEI. That is the reason why this airplane crashed here. Or not crashed, but was forcibly landed. Here, let's take a look at what he had to say. I want your take on this. And this is like now the meta. Everyone is saying that it is DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that these massive companies are taking on.
Why is he wearing a beanie? It must be so cold in his room.
Yeah. Well, that's also DEI, being bald.
The voice recorder on that flight was erased. The question is why? Now they'll come on and say, oh, it was just an accident. It's an accident. But I wonder if there's actually some malfeasance in that right now it's an argument that the planes are no good. Following this report, we've got new information that loose bolts are found on door plugs on grounded United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets. These door plugs are areas of the plane. They're not emergency exits. They're optional. Some they do use, some they don't. I'm wondering how much of this is actually the planes are bad, or are we looking at a diversity hire problem where we have these pilots who are incapable of doing their jobs?
Oh my God.
And so you're getting pilot error.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I knew you would love this.
Oh my God.
This is such a good story.
Wait. I thought he was going to go the route. Of saying that like the manufacturer diversity hire.
Yeah.
He went the pilot route?
Yeah.
Because I know the pilot was a woman. This is why he's going that route.
Yeah.
The pilot was a woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, but what's
That's
really
insane.
What's really
pilot
funny?
error?
What's
that
really
the door
funny?
blew off?
It's hilarious
What?
because I let's just say on background got information that is still publicly accessible.
My God.
To see if there was any physical way that pilot error could have contributed to this.
No, I could have told you that right now. No.
There is no physical way that the pilot error could have contributed to this manufacturing failure.
Of course not. Of course not.
But that didn't stop Timothy Poole from fucking making this assertion.
There's no physical possibility that the plane could be... oh, my God.
It's so stupid. But, like, here's the thing. These guys are obviously incredibly dumb and incredibly fucking, like, bigoted.
Are you fucking stupid?
And that's why it doesn't matter. The truth does not matter. It's ironic because he's looking at an actual story, right, that covers what the real issue is. The real issue is corner cutting. The real issue is a lack of quality assurance that Boeing utilizes in its other subsidiaries and third-party contractors that they work with. You could find this out if you investigated it even a little bit, if you were like a little curious.
Also, the pilots don't, the flight attendants have to lock the doors manually. And first of all, this door
is not a door.
It's not a door. You can't even see it. It's not even, there's no button or lever or anything. It's just, it's plugged, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what he says.
Maybe the cabin was pressurized incorrectly, causing the door to blow out. They're then yelling in the cockpit.
He's saying the cabin was pressurized incorrectly, Austin. The pilot did not pressurize the cabin correctly.
You don't manually pressurize the cabin.
No, you don't understand.
You don't manually pressurize the cabin.
He has to bring it back to the woman, dog. You don't get it. Like, it's the woman pilot.
What does that even mean?
I think even his co-hosts are like, bro, you're stretching a little bit. Like, his co-hosts are like, dog, I'm racist as shit, but like, even I feel like you're a little off base.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you do? What did you press? Oh no, I pressed the wrong button. And then they realize
they pressed the ejecto button. They pressed the fake door that's supposed to be a fucking panel button.
But it's not a button. What the fuck is this guy talking about?
There is no ejection.
There's no ejection button at all.
We'll get in trouble and be sued if people find out what we admitted to here. So they erase the black box voice recorder.
Or the black box voice recorder only has a 2-hour limitation, and they accidentally kept recording over it. And that's why it doesn't have exactly the same, like the point of impact, I guess, or the point where like the door blew off.
Oh my God. Okay, here, let's keep watching him.
There's also air control audio apparently.
Yeah, well, let's go down. Last aircraft, say again. Center, Alaska, copy to declare an emergency. We're descending down to 10,000.
Yeah, so here, pause. The standard operating procedure is to immediately descend to 10,000 feet where you have breathable air. Until that point, the pilots will have their oxygen mask. So the reason you hear her voice constricted is she's got, I don't know if you guys ever watched my flight streams, but we actually put on the oxygen mask. So her voice sounds like, because she's got an oxygen mask on.
Yeah.
And she's following the proper procedure. To go down to 10,000 feet, right now they're at 14,500, whatever. The procedure is to immediately descend rapidly to 10,000 feet upon a depressurization.
Yeah.
So, and she's wearing an oxygen mask. I speculate that once they hit 10,000 feet, her oxygen mask came off and she was probably more audible after they got to 10,000 feet.
This is awesome. There's a guy who's still pushing this. The fact that they are, with extremely high probability, toying with people's lives and now trying to hide the truth of what happened is something that needs to be 100% investigated and the public being informed. So what I love about this guy's speculation is that he thinks like the National Transportation Board does not exist, right? Yeah. Like in his mind, he thinks like plane crashes are rare or these kinds of accidents are phenomenally rare just by sheer luck. Like there isn't an entire group of individuals, insurers, on the corporation side, Boeing, on the Boeing side, people looking into it, investigating it, on the third-party contractors that they work with, investigating it, on the airliner side, Like the Alaska Air is not investigating this matter separately. The FAA is not investigating it separately. The NTSB is not investigating this separately. Like, there are probably, right off the top of my dome, I gave you what, like 6, 7 different agencies, both regulators and also internally conducting investigations into the matter. This guy thinks none of that exists and can't even apply critical thinking, which would allow you to actually
go to that clip.
Even without recognizing it. Here's an example of this happening.
Max, you're not. I turned the oxygen on. All right,
So this is what happens when a
flight
cabin
attendants.
depressurizes. So here, stop. So this is what happened in Flight Simulator when I failed to turn on the what they call them the packs. I forgot to turn them on, which is what provides oxygen to the cabin.
Austin, this is you're ruining the argument I'm trying to make by being a bad gay pilot.
Well, I know, but this is what I'm trying to say is,
Austin, the argument I was making is that gay pilots are just as good as straight.
No, I know, but what I'm trying to say is that this was not a case of this is not a case.
If Tim Pool sees this video, it's over.
I know, but this is not, you don't, but hold on. If you turn those off during flight, first of all, you wouldn't. The plane would notify you and you wouldn't rapidly decompress. It would be a slow. This is what happened. This is what people alleged happened on MH370, right? The Malaysian airline plane, the ghost plane disappeared, right? They allege, right, that there's a theory out there that the pilot suffocated the cabin by turning off those packs, what they call them, like the packs.
Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. Right? The beeping,
slowly,
you're not
the cabin
dead.
Would depressurize. There would be alerts in the cockpit, but everybody else would slowly lose consciousness and pass out and eventually die.
Hey, thank God I didn't. Thank God I didn't say I'd gift Hassan 100 subs this time. You're not dead. Let me tell you why.
Wait, on your streams, you make challenges where you're supposed to give me subs?
Well, I basically said that if you survive the flight, I will give the 100 subs, but everybody survived because we're at 17,000 feet. Everybody would have lived, right? Like I wasn't doing it right. Like you definitely should have descended. I wasn't following procedure because it was a simulator, but anyway, go back to the thing. This is irrelevant.
17,000 feet. You can
see, you can kind of breathe. At
okay, so proper protocol, as Austin pointed out, but did not follow through on his own.
Yeah, okay. But Flight Simulator.
Was in Flight Simulator is immediately descending down to 10,000 so that you no longer need oxygen. But like you don't need assisted oxygen, I guess.
But that would be the alert that they would hear in the cockpit. That's what they heard when the cabin depressurized.
Yeah,
is when they heard that alert and immediately get oxygen mask on and then immediate descent.
Yeah. So, here, let's watch this. Let's keep going.
1282, Roger. Descend and maintain 10,000, and when able, give me the nature of the emergency and your intentions. Portland, Alaska, or Seattle, Alaska. 1282, we just depressurized. We're declaring emergency. We need to descend down to 10,000. Alaska 1282, Roger. Descend and maintain 10,000, 10,000, and when able, state your nature of emergency and your intentions. We just depressurized, descend and maintain 10,000, and we need to return back to Portland. 1282, Roger. Descend and maintain 10,000, and Portland Altimeter 3023.
Yeah.
3023, flight pivot heading to Alaska 1282. And Portland,
Notice how the air traffic control is also a woman. I feel like DEI is taking over everywhere. You know what I mean?
It is incredibly hard to speak with those masks on. They're incredibly suffocating. And everybody sounds like that when they talk into them.
Yeah. I think this is another testament that we've devolved into we've descended into madness, complete madness on this, where as things like marginally get worse and worse due to the obvious fault of capitalist corner cutting, like a constant necessity for cost cutting measures being implemented, which of course eliminates redundancies like quality assurance in an industry that is supposed to have redundancies because they're fail safes, right? All of that is the real reason. I can tell you what the actual reason is. these are faulty door plug. These are faulty door plugs that were installed by a third-party contractor that Boeing very likely hired specifically because they didn't, have the same. They didn't put in the same measures, like the same quality assurance measures that you normally would have. This is my speculation. This is what it basically is pointing to, the problem itself. Yeah.
Looks like they took off from one way, 28 left, right at Portland right there. You see that? Took off from 28 left.
But of course, the irony is that, you don't want to think about that. Okay. You don't want to think about that. You don't want to think about the fact that like Boeing's profit seeking is putting passengers in danger because they're spending more of their capital on stock buybacks rather than actual implementation of quality assurance measures or manufacturing this stuff in-house. And boom, what do you know it? Lo and behold, Boeing is no longer a real manufacturer of things, okay? Manufacturer of planes or any kind of like new tech or even old tech. It's basically just a what the hell is this? It's basically just a financial corporation. That's it. It's basically doing finance capitalism to a T. And obviously, another byproduct of this is the fact that it's losing out to Airbus big time. Airbus and Boeing are basically the only two major airplane creators, right? I mean, the two companies that make airplanes on this planet.
Pretty much.
Airbus is the French, the French company.
French European.
And Boeing is the American corporation. And Boeing has implemented and been able to like successfully deregulate and implemented significantly worse cost-cutting measures than Airbus seemingly. And that's why we are at this,
It's interesting to me because Airbuses on paper make me a little, I think anybody that were to objectively look at Airbuses on paper versus Boeing's on paper, it seems to me that I would feel more safe in a Boeing because of the fact that there's like, if all your hydraulics go out, there's a pulley from the yoke that goes to the back of the plane and to the wings that you can actually physically fly the plane when you lose all power. You can hand fly the plane technically. With an Airbus, if you lose all that, it's like it's a fly-by-wire system. So if you have an electrical fire of some sort, and I'm sure there's redundancies and things like that, the Airbuses are a lot more difficult to. I don't even know how they would be recovered if you had some sort of catastrophic fire or failure of the electrical system. Which I don't. So on paper, you would think that a Boeing would be safer. Also, I will say, due to the fact that of the systems of the Airbus is much easier objectively to fly than the Boeing. The Airbus is, and I've flown both of them. I've flown the Airbus full flight simulator and the Boeing simulator. The Airbus is much easier to fly, which probably makes it more efficient for airlines to train their pilots on. The entry level to fly an Airbus is a lot easier than a Boeing. I'm guessing probably the training is still as sophisticated, but it's much easier to fly an Airbus. The plane does a lot of the things for you that a Boeing won't do. So they're probably getting their ass kicked on that front, and then also the fact that Boeing keeps having these missteps. So it's interesting to me because, I've always held the, not saying that Airbus pilots are bad pilots, but I've always held the belief that I think that Boeing pilots, generally speaking, they're flying a plane more and they're a little bit more, they're able to keep I'm not saying they're more skilled necessarily, but their skill set is a little bit more polished because they're actually flying the plane more than the Airbus pilots. The Airbus pilots, everything, a lot of it's controlled for you. The plane trims for you. It balances itself out for you. The Boeing, you have to do a lot of that stuff manually. So your skills, I think, stay a little bit more polished as a Boeing pilot. I don't know. Just
someone is trying to say Boeing had to cancel certain quality specs because the guy who oversighted them during COVID died during COVID and no one knew what he did. So they just cut out the requirement. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look into that a little bit further. I believe it, but that seems a little too insane. But yeah, ultimately, chat. There's
scroll up. There's a real pilot wanted to say something.
What?
Go up, scroll up.
As an airline pilot, it's so funny how Austin knows more about airplanes than some real pilots. Yeah, he has a plane autism. It's the only.
It's the only thing I'm smart about.
Yeah, that's why I was frustrated that he like selfishly went on a cruise in the middle of like.
Well, I think
the
that was
world
I
needed
cursed
you-
the aviation
when the
industry by
world
going on
needed
a
him
boat.
when the world needed him the most, he vanished. Yeah, you cursed the aviation industry by quitting your usage of the aviation industry.
And I want to say this to Tim Pool. 2 recent catastrophic depressurizations that potentially catastrophic depressurizations. The first one was a Southwest Airlines plane that happened, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, right? That happened 2 or 3 years ago. And then this most recent one, both times, women captains, both times, heroic efforts by the pilots to land the plane safely.
Yeah.
The unfortunate situation in the Southwest Sun, there was 1 life lost because they got sucked out of the plane. But like both times, women pilots, and both times successful, and they did everything they were
Well,
supposed to do,
seems
and everything
like
they
women
could.
pilots are 2 for 2.
No. What I'm trying to
Just
say
saying.
is what I'm trying to say is
2 for 2 on
it wasn't-
depressurization.
No, you guys are taking it the wrong way. I'm not
Maybe
saying
women are at fault here.
no. Women aren't the problem. I'm just saying 2 times at which it has happened, women were in control and they handled the situation perfectly.
Yeah. You have the same curse. To be fair, some big happens whenever you go off stream. That's true. All right, so let's finish this.
So then it's oops, we have no idea. It must just be the planes are no good.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
I like that he's like trying to defend Boeing here. Now, remember when I was like kind of making fun of that gray name chatter who was like, "Oh, well, an investigation must be conducted," right? The reason why I made fun of that chatter is because a critical thinker in this circumstance would do one of 2 things. Maybe you're unfamiliar with the NTSB, the FAA, and numerous other like regulatory agencies that ensure that like fatalities in commercial air travel are kept to a minimum. Maybe you're unfamiliar with that, but you can just think about it a little bit critically and realize, perhaps in your mind's eye, that there are numerous corporations involved in this process, and there's going to be a lot of people who are personally invested inside of those corporations, inside of those companies, that are going to want to ensure that they keep their blame to a minimum. Self-interest. Boeing is self-interested in this and wants to ensure that they are not at fault. So there's going to be a personal investigation internally into who is responsible for this. United is going to investigate. Alaska Air is going to do an investigation. Every part of this process is going to have an investigation. Everyone that's like tangentially related is going to look at this to see where they can shift the blame. This is what a critical thinker would do, even if you're completely oblivious to the regulatory mechanisms at play here. Okay? And that's what conservatives fail to do every step of the way. They want neat, comfortable narratives that they can land on. And there is no more comfortable a narrative that you can land on than the oldest narrative. It must be someone who is a non-white male. That's got to be the reason. Now, Tim Pool looks at a story that directly counters that, okay, with facts, and says, no, I don't believe it. But then he does something that I find very funny, which is at least a little bit more convenient of an argument because it directly physically involves the person that is on the manufacturing side, and goes, maybe it's because Boeing is doing DEI hires in their
that's
facilities.
what I thought he was going to do originally.
Which is like still a stupid fucking argument, but at least it's a little bit smarter
That
than
makes
like
a little bit more sense.
immediately blaming the pilot in a situation that is completely outside of the control of the pilot.
Ashley St. Clair was tweeting about a flight that landed from Newark, New Jersey, and it bounced on the runway, hard landing, nearly totaling the plane. I think the plane is disabled. The fuselage looks like it was bent and cracked up.
It's not true.
And according to Ashley St. Clair, or I should say, she asked
Not true.
whether or not this was a diversity hire who was fired and then rehired.
I love that he's like making up a fantasy here where he's like, I saw a plane land really hard and I assumed in my mind that it was maybe like a DEI hire that was fired, that was hired again, and like that's the person who's responsible. I'm imagining a situation where like what if the plane actually, landed really hard? What if that plane had a woman pilot or a black pilot or something? And what if that black pilot previously was fired because they were bad, obviously, and then they were rehired because of diversity?
But you know what makes it even more funny about this that Tim is failing to understand? I've been told by numerous pilots that within reason, a hard landing is actually good for the plane. It's good for the plane.
What? The plane likes it?
I don't know why, but I've been told by numerous pilots, like
it feels good as fuck.
A firm landing.
It feels good as fuck for the plane when it lands firmly.
A firm landing is good for the struts and the landing gear. It's good for the plane. And look, it may sound ridiculous, and I don't understand the reasoning by it, but it's a good solid landing. Also, the planes are built and designed to take a tremendous amount of stress when they hit the ground. Planes bounce all the time. I've been on a plane that bounces when it lands. It's perfectly normal. It's perfectly okay. Nobody's getting fired. It's fine. So, yeah.
Yeah, but what if in the hypothetical situation that I made up that perfectly corresponds to my personal biases about like non-white, non-male people, they were at fault for a thing that didn't even happen? This is no different than being like, he just imagined something. Like, it's the perfect conservative narrative, chat. This is why I wanted to show this video. I've showed it already, but I wanted to look at this video one more time. Because there's like very obvious facts that are very quickly assessed in this situation, right? And the investigation will continue. But I'm sorry, there's nothing funnier to me about the conservative mind than looking at an article, refusing to read any of it, immediately cooking up a narrative that you built in your mind, and then creating a hypothetical scenario where you got scared, okay, and then being afraid of the hypothetical situation that you made up in your mind.
Also, fuselage crack that doesn't even from landing, from
he
bouncing.
Said it was bent. The plane was bent because it landed too hard.
And they fired them. What the fuck is going on?
He's right. I did stress analysis on airplane struts and landing gear, but it's basically an IRL testing of the shear force on many of the rods that hold it together in different directions. People think landing gear are like our legs and might buckle in a different direction, basically anisotropic, whereas landing gear are meant to be isotropic and take forces in all directions, which is why a 90-degree turn landing never buckled once.
So see, that's the actual, I didn't know why, but that person came with the actual explanation for why these pilots were saying a good solid landing is good for the plane. Within reason, of course. I'm sure at a certain point you would fucking be crashing, but a good hard landing is good. And like you guys ever heard of Ryanair? Right?
Yeah. That's a European, isn't Ryanair the European
but you know how
budget?
They're notorious for hard landings, right? Like always like hard landings. Well, I was with when we did the flight simulator thing in London or England, the pilot that was training us or that helping us, he was a pilot, he was a former captain for Ryanair. And he told me the reason why Ryanair landings are so firm is because the standard operating procedure for Ryanair tells the pilots they have to land within the early part of the threshold of the runway. So the pilots have to put the plane down quickly because in Europe and a lot of the destinations that Ryanair flies to, the runways aren't 10,000 feet long like the United States. They're a lot shorter. So it's safer to put the plane down firmly with these hard landings earlier on in the threshold and land in a firm way because it's completely safe and good for the plane.
It's good for the plane. I love the way you say that.
Then try to, like in the U.S., they'll like try to kiss the runway because they're so long.
A good solid landing hits the plane's G spot. It feels good. It probably feels good as fuck for the plane.
Yeah.
Landing hard, dude. The plane loves it. Goes, oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Land firmly in the plane.
Oh, I love talking about planes. It's the only time I can look semi-intelligent. I love it so much.
Even though they shouldn't have been.
Going.
We got a pilot shortage. Flight cancellations like crazy. Are these airlines hiring in large numbers, and are they hiring for diversity? Because we know Boeing's all about it. Take a look at this. Global Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Report. I'm wondering if what's really happening is the infrastructure failures we're seeing are due to the fact that all of these companies for the past decade plus have been prioritizing hiring based on ideology instead of meritocracy.
This is also so funny. Like the notion that they're just like automatically hiring people that would be otherwise disqualified. DEI initiatives are not created specifically so you hire like black people or brown people instead of white people. First of all, really funny, especially on the engineering side. I mean, I at least know from like the engineers that I've met. This is anecdotal, but like, you know, white people are.
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the few places where white people are the fucking minority. Okay,
Exactly.
and that's not because of DEI, homie. That's not. Okay, you go to a trading floor, a lot of white guys. You go to a financial institution, a lot of white dudes. You go to the executive level, a lot of white guys. You look at the fucking actual engineering floor, not a lot of white guys there. Okay.
Nope.
And that's not because of the fucking DEI measures. Let me tell you. Now, they need the DEI white guys for engineers. Yeah, literally. They did a diversity measure so they could have more white engineers.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why the door failed.
Yeah. So the funny part about this is that like DEI measures across the board are not like racial quotas. That is illegal.
Smells like white man door installation.
Yeah, that's number one. Number two, DEI simply opens up the pool of candidates that you are looking at that you normally, I guess, somehow avoid looking at because maybe you're a little bit more interested in having a predominantly white workforce. That's it. This does not mean that the qualifications of a black or brown engineer, which is hilarious to think about, that like, you know, especially like brown people, brown engineers being worse somehow and not like, you know, being overrepresented in the engineering field. It's not about that at all. And it has everything to do with opening up the hiring pool to a broader subsect of society. That's it. DEI is the new affirmative action neoliberal band-aid solution that hogs pretend is anti-white racism. But it's like the thing about DEI is that, or all of these things are that they simply are there for marketing purposes. That's it. It's for liberals to feel good about what they did. It doesn't mean that you're actually fucking hiring people that are less qualified for a position and like overlooking white people.
I just can't.
It just automatically comes with the assumption that like white people are just going to be better at everything because it's a white supremacist value.
It was just so immediately a lot of the comments on the video of the air traffic control were going after the pilot for being a woman, and you know, a lot of sexist related remarks. You know, these people that could never even, you know, begin to understand anything about a plane.
Yeah.
I can't believe he went after the pilots.
Yeah, it's also additionally funny considering that, like, I would say that aviation has probably year over year gotten significantly safer in comparison to, like, the fucking 60s.
Yes.
When everyone was, like, by definition, a white guy doing every aspect of the craft.
Yes.
So, if anything, if I were to be a dumb guy who thinks correlation equals causation, I would look at that and go, more black and brown people on every aspect of the engineering on the building side and also on the piloting side, and it's become safer.
In 2023, I don't think there was a commercial jet crash, a fatal commercial. Wait, the Air China one, was that, or China Airlines, was that 2022? But I don't think there was a fatal one in 2023. Somebody sent that to me on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's really
of a commercial
funny.
airline.
What my ex's dad is a civil engineer, and he once told me I had to choose a less qualified black guy over a more qualified white guy because of these policies. Yeah, brother, that's the racist assumption that the black guy is automatically less qualified. Here is why it is literally impossible to argue on this point with people who maintain this position, because in their minds, they think the white guy is always more qualified. Okay? So yeah, in his mind, the white guy is way more qualified than the black guy. So, oh man, DEI is forcing me to hire this black guy. That's it. That's the whole point. White guy had an internship at the country club, but the black guy didn't. Yeah, shit like that as well. Anyway, big companies don't just do DEI for their reputation. Research shows that companies with more diverse workforces are more successful because they bring in more varied perspectives and prevent groupthink. That is also true. I am no big city capitalist lawyer myself, but I know that companies with more diverse boards, right? More diverse boards of executives unironically yield better profits year over year. And once that information is out, these guys don't care. Nobody at the tippy top gives a shit. They just want their bottom line to be better. So they see that and go, okay, great. Boom. Come on, hire a couple, hire a couple people to spice it up a little bit. And that's it.
It's sad, though, what happened.
What?
I really want Boeing to be good as an American.
Yeah.
I want the company to be good and safe because I've flown on the MAX several times and I love that plane as a passenger. It's a beautiful plane. The passenger experience is great. It's sad that that shit keeps happening.
We got to go back to the 70s when it was all white guys drunk as fuck flying the planes because it was significantly safer. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what I'm talking about. Make airplanes great again, baby. Just, people falling asleep on the wheel, basically, because they're fucking hammered. You know what the biggest tragedy in this Boeing cutting corners? I don't even want to get into it. Look, I already covered it extensively. I think it's silly, and there's more to talk about. Terror in the skies after diversity hire takes over. So now this is Lauren Witzke.
Yeah, I know, but
who is literally she says she's a Christian nationalist. Like, she is literally a white supremacist. Okay? I love the notion that you look at anything that is going on in the world and immediately the first thing you think of is like, oh, something bad is happening. It must be like a non-white person that was hired. Like, oh man, top of the hour ad break came 3 minutes before the top of the hour. Must be a diversity hire. Oh, I stepped on a Lego. Must be a diversity hire. It's just such a comfortable narrative to constantly repackage. Okay. So you can feel comfortable knowing that you won't see the top of the hour ad break, but you will. So prepare for it. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. Prepare for it by subscribing for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Okay. Prepare for it by hoping that you'll get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Okay? That's it. And then you won't have to sit there, their dick in your hand, complaining about diversity hires. Okay?
Oh, this is so stupid. How do you argue with these people?
Here's the 3-minute ad break now. A Cat for Cutie, thank you for the 5-tier 1 gift to sub. You can't argue with someone that literally looks at something that's happening in the wild, has no other contextual clues into what is actually the responsible party, and immediately goes, black people. You can't do that. It's just, you can't argue with this person.
Also, it wasn't terror in the skies. A 747 has 4 engines.
Oh my God, it's on fire.
Like, imagine she's the one who filmed it. Oh my God, it's on fire. Must be black people.
They landed safely.
Yeah. Borlo, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Oh my God. Sorry. It's on fire. Mom.
Yeah, and then it's not, because they probably put the engine out
Holy shit.
by calmly following the standard operating procedure, and then had 3 other working
No,
engines,
it's still doing it.
and then landed safely. Is that what happened, Hassan?
I don't know the details. This just happened.
I think that's what happened.
She goes, look. Diversity hires now checking for fuel lines. Diversity hires now performing the safety checks. Diversity hires teaching you how to use an oxygen mask. Diversity hires in the driver's seat. The glory days of flying are over. Time to get an RV. All right, bitch, get a fucking RV then, okay? Take your dumbass into RV town, okay? Instead of flying everywhere, take an RV. I don't want to sit next to your nasty white supremacist ass on the fucking plane anyway, okay? Take your dumb ass down to the fucking RV store and get one, okay?
Dude, it kills me. Scroll down. Miami Airport. As if the airport hiring has anything to do with what happened.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, have you seen Miami? It's like a. Have you seen the demographic of Miami? Of course. It's a diverse Miami's incredibly diverse.
Okay, talking about but Miami also is like, they move at a different speed over there, so maybe I wouldn't bring up that they're all diverse there.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, did I say something wrong?
No, I'm just making a Florida joke.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's other things you could say.
No, the better example would be like, looking at like Turkish Airlines, right? And being like, wow, look at all these fucking diversity hires.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what about other countries that fly planes?
I can't believe that, in every other country, there are diversity hires everywhere.